Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. As you can tell, the holidays are here. And one of my favorite things to do around the holidays is spend some time in the shop, making gifts for friends and family. And by far the best received gift has been these wooden spoons. So in this episode, I'm going to take you through this quick project from CAD to CAM to finished product. I'll also share my method for batching them out on my Lowrider CNC and my method for finishing that turns inexpensive soft maple into a gift you can be proud to give or use in your own kitchen. Let's get to it. First things first, design. For these spoons, I basically just followed a YouTube tutorial that used the form environment in Fusion 360. There are quite a few out there if you search. This is not going to be one of those videos. I did want to show the model though. The cool thing about modeling your own is being able to customize the shape however you want it. I opted for long, graceful curves and a delicate look, which I replicated in both the round and flat designs. I spent quite a bit of time refining the curves and dimensions to make sure it's not only aesthetically pleasing, but also comfortable to hold and functional for serving. Now, when you're making a bunch of these, efficiency is key. So I designed a custom fixture to hold multiple spoon blanks at once. This drastically speeds up the production process. Here's the fixture design in Fusion 360. It essentially just allows for easy clamping and setup, with reference edges that line the stock up perfectly for the two-sided operation. I made this out of MDF, which is stable and easy to machine. Once the design and fixture were ready, it was time to move into the CAM workspace. For each spoon, there are several distinct operations. First operation is to surface the board to ensure a face that's parallel to the machine. This will be important when we flip the board over. Then, holes are bored. Boring! That's right, a boring operation. Anyways, those will be used to hold down the stock securely. Then adaptive clearing to remove the bulk of the material quickly, and then a parallel pass using a ball-nosed end mill to get smooth curve, and finally a profile cut to free the spoon from the board, leaving small tabs to hold it in place. I set up all of the operations together, but when I export, I can choose to only export operations for side A on the left or side B on the right. With our G-code in hand, it's time to head out to the shop and fire up the CNC. First, I cut a piece of wood for our first set of spoons. For these, I'm using soft maple because it's what's available, and has worked well in the past. Oh, and it's fairly inexpensive in my area. Then, I securely mount the fixture to the CNC bed. Using a biscuit joiner, I cut out some notches in the side of the fixture that fit these 3D printed clamps designed by Pwn CNC. This keeps everything low profile and out of the way. I'm using these cheap plastic side clamps for side A, and it makes loading and unloading stock really easy. I zero off the corner of the fixture, and as you can see here, I'm just using the flat touch plate from V1 Engineering, although for corners it's not ideal, so I'm going to get that switched out for a 3D probe at some point soon. That'll probably be a future video. I do one last visual inspection to make sure everything is set before I hit play.
And away we go!
Since building the machine earlier this year, I've just been continually impressed by how well it performs. It's really just an awesome machine. I can't say enough good things about the Lowrider 4. Really, I could just sit here and watch this thing carve for hours. And sometimes I do. But I'm not going to make you guys do that. So Here we have our side A completed, and all I've got to do is flip it over and position it on the side B part of the fixture, and then tighten down our screws in the previously bored holes. Then load the file for side B and let her rip. One of the things that I like about this fixture is that I can load up two pieces of stock and carve a side A on one of them and side B on the other without having to stop the machine or interfere, and this really speeds things up. Even though I've done this before, it wasn't all sunshine and sawdust. Okay, so here's the somewhat disastrous results of our first run using quarter-inch quarter-inch ball nose. I mean, to achieve correct, cutting all the way up to the edges, that huge round quarter-inch ball has to step over a bit and step down a bit in order for the blade to touch the sides, and it really was not not leaving enough material behind. You can see here we have cut all the way through, and there's nothing supporting this spoon. If I had allowed it to continue, it would have done the same for all of these. And you can see here it really started to get munched because this was just vibrating too much. So anyways, we're gonna go back to a 1 millimeter tip ball nose. I think 3-degree taper, something like that. And that should hopefully leave a lot more material around each spoon. So we'll see. Switching to a small bit and updating my toolpaths solved that issue, but that was not the last problem I encountered. On the second run, I noticed a lot of stringing and the sound of the cutter was just off. I foolishly allowed the machine to keep cutting until this happened. I knew the machine was struggling, and now it's skipped a few steps and is cutting in the wrong place. I started the project with a fresh single flute cutter. Time to investigate. Under a microscope, the issue is clear. This bit is dull, and the charred dust seen here welded to the tip gives a pretty good indication as to why. Compared to a brand new bit, the difference is obvious. Somewhere in my toolpaths, I was going too slow, which allowed the bit to heat up enough to wear down the cutting edge. The culprit was my boring operation. I simply wasn't going fast enough, and this seemingly small part of the operation was enough to destroy the bit after only 2 runs. That's more like it. Time to grab a new bit and get on with it. From then on, things went pretty smoothly. Okay, so we just finished our first full set front and back of these 4 spoons. Let's take a look. What's it say on the stopwatch? All right, 2 hours, 55 minutes. That is not too bad. Definitely could be better. So I'm going to go ahead and get the gantry out of the way. We'll clean all this up and let me get started. After a little more tweaking of the toolpaths, I was able to get it down to about half an hour per spoon, which isn't that great, but, also could be way worse. And then after a few dedicated afternoons, this is the final result, this huge stack of spoons just waiting for me to cut their tabs and finish them up. Okay, well now that we've got all our boards cut out, it's time to cut the tabs and get these spoons finished up. I use a 3-part finishing process for these spoons. First, a quick trip to the oscillating belt sander to knock off any high points and tabs. Then I finish up with a padded sanding attachment on the drill press. At this point, the spoons look finished, but remember, we're using soft maple, and if they get wet, the grain is going to suck up moisture and create a rough, spiky texture. I spray them down with water to encourage this so that I can give it a final sanding and get rid of any rough spots. If you look closely, you can see the difference between a spoon that's been sprayed and one that hasn't. If we didn't do this, all that texture would show up later when rinsing them off, and nobody wants a fuzzy spoon. Once they're dry, it's back to the drill press for a final sanding, before a dunk in some mineral oil. And lastly, a coat of wax. And just like that, a beautiful and functional gift that can be enjoyed all year round. If anyone is interested, I've uploaded the STL for these spoons to thangs.com, and we'll put the link in the description below. If you enjoyed the video or want to share your holiday crafts, hit the like button and drop a comment below. I read every comment, and your feedback really helps shape the future of this channel. Until next time, I'm Roman for DS Creative Studio. Happy holidays and keep creating.